PFL versus Bellator, champions versus champions. Andy and Jim from WagerTalk.com to break down all the fights for you. It's a fascinating card. Didn't think we would ever see some of these matchups, but a lot of fun, a lot of good betting opportunities. We are here to break everything down for you. Jim, let's just get right into it. We're not going to do the first one. You cannot bet on that one. So we'll start with Abdullah Al-Katani versus, I believe his name is pronounced Edu Kundala Rao. I have looked into these fighters. Have you?
I have.
I thoroughly enjoy Raul. I love his jumping, spinning kicks. I love his wild, just kind of attacks. And he's going to get smoked.
Mm-hmm. The betting line reflects that. So,
it's
yeah.
minus one. It's minus 1,000. I invite you to look up Raul's last fight. What style is that? Is it tight? Like
crazy is what it is. It's crazy. That's his style.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
He's 4-1. Some of his fights are been fought out of storage facilities, things like that. So he's going to come in and take on Al Katani, and this is just kind of one of those where you'll probably see a highlight reel finish here. Katani went to decision his last one, but he put a whooping on David Zellner. David Zellner is way better than
Yes.
the wild swinging Raul. So it's a great parlay piece. You're obviously not just going to bet minus 1,000 on its own, but listen, minus 1,000 doesn't give you a ton of value in parlays, but this one's kind of worth it, right?
There's only one way you can bet this fight, in my opinion, is playing the unders. Al-Katani did go to decision, but that was against somebody who was better defensively. Raul, however you say it, is not good defensively. We've seen PFL and Bellator both do this on their undercards. This is set up to be an Al-Katani win. There's no sense looking any further than that. So if you can get a good alternate line on under 2.5 as a parlay piece, I would not mind a sprinkle on that.
Absolutely. All right, Clarissa Shields and Kelsey DeSantis. So this fight, they have now made a catch weight. We wondered why, and then we looked up how big Clarissa Shields is, and then it made all the sense in the world. This is at 165, Jim.
So heavy.
Whoa! And then we found that video. We found the video of her standing next to Kelsey DeSantis at that press conference, and yikes! Kelsey DeSantis weighed 145 at her last fight. Clarissa Shields is obviously the big betting favorite. What do you make of this fight?
I am terrified that Clarissa Shields is not in shape for this. I am terrified that she hasn't done a lot of MMA. She did have another boxing match in between her last MMA fight. I believe maybe two. But here's the thing. She's still going to win. Okay? She's still going to win. DeSantis wrestled in her first fight 11 years ago. 11 years ago. Since then, in her fights, you have not seen a takedown, nothing. She got this last win against Caitlin Nelson. She got a late knockout at the end of the first round, and she was getting whooped that entire round. I mean, she won 9 seconds in that fight, the last 9 seconds. Other than that, she was losing. She was getting pieced up, not reacting to shots well. She's slow. I think Shields all day. She probably finishes her in the first round, to be honest with you. Unless she takes Clarissa down in the first round, that's the only way she's going to get to round 2. And I just haven't seen the wrestling in 11 years. This is a setup fight.
Yeah, you always fade the person who's supposed to have the wrestling advantage, but they haven't shown it in over a decade. Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is, Clarissa Shields is so much bigger now.
Yeah.
Could you even think of getting her down? Tall tale. Now, Clarissa Shields has gone to decision her last few boxing matches, but you go back, look, they're wearing those big gloves.
That's boxing.
Yeah, it's completely different. I'm with you all day. Under 2.5 is plus money, Jim.
Love it.
I do too.
Great bet.
Yeah, yeah. Up next, Biagio Ali Walsh, technically 0-0 as a professional, but he does have a lot of amateur fights, and this is nice because we finally bet it on the domestic books. This line should be available everywhere. You really couldn't find some of his lines as an amateur, but make no mistake, he's got a lot of experience, not fighting the best fighters in the world. And we found the fight. We found Palacio's last fight where he won. He is technically 1-0. Got the win in December. Not that impressive, Jim. Is this going to be another Ali Walsh showcase?
This is going to be another Ali Walsh showcase, but here is the problem that I have with this fight, and I kind of have with Ali Walsh's fights. He's always lined as a massive favorite, and he's not a flash knockout first round finisher we've seen in his past two fights. His fights have kind of got extended. I like to see that from a young fighter because we got to see his cardio. I don't think he's going to be in any sort of danger, but the only way you could look to bet this straight on its own would be a total. But I don't have a strong conviction either way. I do believe that his opponent is bad enough to be finished early. But Walsh has shown patience, and he's shown it seems like a real dedication to getting cage time. He knows he needs cage time. So he doesn't rush the knockout. When he tends to rush the knockout, you'll see him identify that and pull back, and he'll step back to the center of the cage and kind of just work his boxing and kickboxing more and more from there. So really tough betting spot. I mean, we're not in the business of parlaying minus 1,000 favorites to get to minus 500, but if you have another play that you like that you need some juice on, I think he's a lock as far as a money line pick. And we know who they're pushing here. They're building a star, and they're going to keep building him after this fight. And they're
I
going to
loved
keep building.
Yeah, you're right. He is actively. You could just see he's working on his patience. Like, oh, I could
Yes.
crush this guy in 1 minute. Nope. Let's pull back. Let's get that. I think it's a great point. Yeah, don't rush out to bet this under 1.5. If he goes full blown like patience mode, kind of playing with his food here a little bit, it could be really a bummer when he knocks a guy out at the end of the second round and everyone's sitting on the under 1.5 ticket. So it's a really good point. But yes, it's Biagio Ali Walsh all day long in this one.
Now, another interesting take on this also is that he, like I just said, is working on his game. Don't put it past that we see a takedown here, guys. At some point, the great camp that he's from and the smart fighter that he is, at some point, you have to test your wrestling ability. Well, who better to test your wrestling ability against than an 0-0 fighter making their pro debut?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, this could be the moment where we see him try to do a little bit of wrestling, and we've seen him shoot for takedowns and get clinch time. I think it's coming, and this is one of those moments where if you put all your eggs in the basket on the KO prop, you're sitting there at the end of the night after a submission wondering how it happened.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah. So we've seen one fight from Palacio. He finished a guy, but make no mistake, Palacio, bad striking looking.
Yes.
They ended up on the ground doing like the full blown rollover, just very sloppy. He's not very polished. So, all right, let's get into some real true Bellator PFL matchups here. Aaron Pico versus Gabriel Braga. I'll let you tell what's going on with Braga, and you've been a big Aaron Pico fan. So let's start with Braga. Let's go over what's going on with him.
So Braga, had his championship fight in PFL. It was a rematch. Did not go well. First loss of his career. Always a question mark right there how you respond after your first loss. Now, granted, he is young enough to make improvements, but unfortunately, he's in a bad spot. And, my condolences to him. He lost his father not too long ago. And to the point where there was questions whether this fight was even going to happen. I would assume that the PFL had a conversation with him and his camp, and they all agreed upon this, him wanting to fight. And I could understand that. But to lose your father, who's been in your corner since day one, and have this matchup against Aaron Pico is going to be a real tall task. As far as Braga goes, he's got good stand-up. He doesn't have the most power in the world. His knockout was against Marlon Moraes, so we can take power out of that equation. He's more of a decision striking fighter, not the best defensive wrestling out there either. He's serviceable, but I don't think he can change and decide where this fight is going to take place. That advantage is going to be in Pico's corner from bell to bell. Moving on to Aaron Pico, I have been a fan of this kid since he made his debut. He has been around forever, and he is still young, and he improves every single fight. His last loss was because of an injury that he threw. His opponent did nothing. He just had his shoulder pop out on a punch, and they were trying to pop it back in so he could continue, and just couldn't do it. Since then, we've seen him just dog walk Gonzalez to that decision. He absolutely destroyed Pedro Carvalho, destroyed him. This man is no longer a boy. He is a man, and he is a man that has grown up inside MMA specifically, not a wrestler, not a striker. He's been doing MMA since he's a teenager. And to me, I do not understand this line. He opened a minus 800 favorite, and he's down to sub minus 300 now in spots. I don't know if that's money coming in on Braga because of the storyline, but I love Aaron Pico in this. And I think after this fight, you're no longer going to be able to not recognize who Aaron Pico is. The mainstream Bellator guys that don't watch, or UFC guys that don't watch Bellator PFL, they're going to be surprised when they see this kid. And I think this is his march towards a title shot in this new organization.
The other thing about Braga that, kind of gets swept under the rug, okay, he's 12-1. I mean, listen, his win against Pineda was a split and Chris Wade was a split. That's you're one
Yes.
judge. You're one judge and one round away from dropping some fight. So,
Yeah, I don't see the danger in again, his finish was against Marlon Rice. I just don't see the danger coming from his side. It's going to have to be a lucky shot, or Pico's going to dog walk him for 15.
Clay Collard and AJ McKee. I have been banned from betting on Clay Collard fights. I'm not allowed to do it anymore. I have said I don't really enjoy Clay Collard fights. I mean, his one against Shane Burgos was pretty exciting. The OAM was a good fight. So I'm kind of coming around, but yeah, I'm not allowed to bet on it. So I'll let you take this one. Clay Collard and AJ McKee. I mean, AJ McKee 21-1. What do you like in this fight?
This is one fight that I can't get to the window on anything, to be honest with you, from a betting perspective. However, I do think that this is an interesting matchup. Clay Collard, great boxing, great fitness, great body work, toughness. IQ can be questionable at times, and we really saw him make that improvement this past season in PFL until he ran up against OAM. AJ McKee, another guy I've watched for a long time, coming up in weight. All right, not going to be cutting as much weight. AJ is a fantastic wrestler, and in his last fight, we saw that grit, that determination, and that wrestling ability get him back into that fight. He was losing round one decisively, and he came back against Sidney Outlaw and just poured it on through that fight, and ended up getting himself a decision. It was really a great comeback win. I would lean McKee in this fight just because I cannot have faith in Collard to make the correct decisions. I can't have faith in him round two and round three to make the grappling decisions to get back to his feet. I have a feeling that if he gets taken down out in the center of the cage, that AJ can hold him down. He really can. I think physical-wise, you're going to see a lot more dynamic movement from AJ and physical strength, and Clay's going to be that gritty boxer. But I would lean McKee. No bet for me. No bet on the total. I think there's better spots on this card.
Yeah, McKee's a minus 265, so you have to love McKee to bet on this one, and not quite there. Thiago Santos and Yoel Romero. All you need to know about this fight is it's minus 220 if you want over 2.5. Two guys that, I mean, the only thing you really say is just these guys, their better days are behind them. I believe both him and Wilkinson tested positive.
Yes.
so you've got Thiago Santos coming in.
Mm-hmm.
How do you roll that when both guys? Shouldn't you just leave it? Like, well, they were both on it, so let's just leave it as is. So you got Thiago Santos. Who knows what we're going to get from him? He wasn't great in USD there towards the end. And then Yoel Romero, 63-year-old Yoel Romero. He's 46, but you get the point. Loses Nemkov, but he did go to decision. I mean, Romero, the dude is tough. I don't see a knockout from either one of these guys. For me, the only way to possibly play it is to take it over and do something with it. But the volume is not going to be there from either one of these guys. I have no idea what the judges are going to do when both guys are throwing 2 and 3 shots a minute. It's just going to be a sloppy fight, and I think after like the 2-minute mark, the threat of a knockout is just not going to be there. So it's minus 120 for Santos. Do you have any strong opinion on this fight?
I wouldn't say it's a strong opinion. I think this is one of those fights where, like you said, there's that dead over. Be careful.
Okay, you're right.
These are two guys that every time they fight, there is shenanigans. There's always shenanigans. The fact that Yoel Romero was standing after that Nemkov fight was amazing because he was taking bombs. And Nemkov's not known as this big, brutal power puncher, but the volume that Nemkov put on him, the amount of big shots that hit on Romero, I don't know what he's made out of. Thiago Santos, big injury concerns. Again, you got a guy with injury concerns. Are you real confident on a fight to go the distance?
Oh, that's a good point.
You just never know. You can't trust those knees. I heard someone close to him saying that he's still trying to get back. He's not back, and he never will be. He will never be back to the fighter that he was against John Jones, and we need to stop thinking that he will be.
No.
Again, better spots to bet on this card. This is a pass from a betting perspective. I do think that if Romero, for one time in his career, decides he wants to put his wrestling boots on, this is the fight to do it. But we can't trust him to do that.
True.
So, best way to not lose money is, what's your saying again? You want to?
The best way to make money is to not lose it. So there's no reason to force it on this one. Let's move on to another guy who tested positive. This is Bruno Capalozza. He's a big-time underdog against Nemkov. Like Capalozza seems to always be dependent on the big shot. And listen, if he lands it in the past, he could do some damage. I just don't know now that he's hopefully not, or supposedly not taking the juice. But last fight that was the last fight was ruled a no contest. He knocked him out, but gotta be honest, Shuffle was landing on Capalozza, and Capalozza caught him. Before that, he lost by decision. So tough spot to actually try and find a reason to bet on Capalozza. Like, these guys coming off of positive tests look terrible. They look
horrible,
awful. And I don't care about some of them where you're like, well, that shouldn't be a performance enhancing. That was just an over the counter. There's something that just doesn't make sense with it. So Nemkov 17-2. He's the rightful big favorite. You're right. Just absolutely put it on Romero. Never in doubt. So is there any reason to take Capalozza?
I don't think there is a reason to take Capalozza, but Capalozza could help out the bet that I'm thinking of making on this or looking into, and that's this fight not to go the distance.
Yeah.
We have a guy coming off a suspension who is also, and all people have said about this is it's Nemkov going up to heavyweight. Let's not forget that Capalozza was not a natural heavyweight either. He is a former light heavyweight that moved up to heavyweight to get a speed advantage. He has great power, but the way he's been able to get his knockouts is hand speed because these lumbering heavyweights could not get out of the way. Bad footwork. Nemkov has fantastic footwork. He's an in-and-out striker. Capalozza is going to have a hard time tracking him down. The other factor is this, from what I've heard, could be a permanent move to heavyweight for Nemkov. Being one of Fedor's boys, I have all faith in Fedor to get him with the right game plan to fight heavyweights not light heavyweights. So I can trust the camp. I can trust the fighter. And I have doubts on the other side. So I have a lean towards this fight not to go the distance. And I think it's Nemkov. After he beats him up a little bit, he's got a huge advantage in the grappling. Huge advantage if he ends up on top of the grappling. No doubt about it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we like a lot of the favorites, but some of these guys are kind of hard to make cases for when you're on this card. So we'll get to another one. Ray Cooper and Jason Jackson. Ray Cooper, talk about not looking good in his last fight. I mean, Derek Brunson, the corpse of Derek Brunson, was able to lay on top of him for rounds 2 and 3 and get the decision win. Cooper just has these lunging punches that he landed on Brett Cooper, who's bad, but couldn't get the KO against Brunson, the chinniest guy in mixed martial arts at this point outside of Shannon Ross. And then loses the decision to Carlos Leal. I mean, you got to go back to 2021 to find his last really big win. He looked absolutely out of shape and awful against Brunson. Brunson took him down, and it's not like Brunson looked really nimble taking him down. I know Brunson was a giant compared to him, but it was as clunky as it gets. And if you're struggling in the wrestling game against Derek Brunson, just doesn't really feel like Jason Jackson's the guy you want to face. I love Jason Jackson in this matchup.
I agree. This fight also is a catchweight fight of 182, which is an odd number. Let's not forget that Ray Cooper, the former lightweight, missed weight at 185 his last fight. Couldn't even make weight. I think he's here for a paycheck. Let's also not forget that he is not supposed to be here. This was supposed to be Muhammad in this fight. Mm-hmm. He's the champion. Not happening. Pulls that with an injury. They call up Ray Cooper to step up. He gets a nice paycheck. I have a feeling this could possibly be the last time that we see Ray Cooper unless there's some big fights left on his contract because he's looked checked out in his last fights. He has not looked, even when he won, he did not come in with the same fitness, the same level. I mean, he came out like a bull in a china shop because he knew that he could get that fight done. But he is not the Ray Cooper that won the tournament, 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
It's been a while. And I think he's here for a paycheck, and this is going to be a highlight reel stoppage for Jason Jackson in round 2 or 3. I see it by submission in round 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at Jason Jackson. I mean, he's so fast and so athletic. He's in his prime. Took the O away from Yaroslav Amosov. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's a good one. And yeah, I mean, if Ray Cooper comes in, if he comes in even remotely like the same shape he was in Brunson, it's gonna look so bad. Like the eye test, you're just gonna be like, oh my god, these guys don't even look like they belong in there together.
Ray has a habit of accepting positions too.
Yeah,
he's not one to tirelessly work to stuff that takedown or get off the cage. He will kind of take his time in those positions. That's going to afford Jackson to just rack up all kinds of control minutes and dictate the fight. So love Jason Jackson as a pick.
Impa, Kasanganay, and Johnny Eblin. Listen, we love Impa, one of the more profitable fighters that we've had over the last run. I mean, we were on him when he jumped over to PFL. Like, you look at his,
we've been on him since the Jared Gooden fight. After the Jared Gooden fight, we have called every Impa fight correctly since.
Absolutely. Comes off the win against Josh Ferreira. It's not been the greatest run of competition. I thought, when we watched the Josh Ferreira fight, we just thought it was just unbelievably smart, patient. Like, he didn't overextend. He didn't try to go too crazy. I don't know if it was less rounds, if he would have tried to get the finish, and maybe because Josh was exhausted and Impa looked great, but it wasn't like Impa was just like a dominating, almost, had him knocked out a bunch of times and looked like a savage like he did against Hamlet. So we've seen him knock out Hamlet, whatever. This Johnny Eblin, though, a little bit of a different beast. You know a lot more about Eblin. You followed him a lot more closely than I have. It's tough when you got a fighter like Impa that we love. And we're like, man,
Yes.
we made so much money off this guy. We love him. He was a hidden gem. But this matchup against Johnny Eblin, this is a brutal one for Impa, isn't it?
It's tough. I mean, he's going up against what a lot of people say is the best fighter in this weight class in the world. And I know it's Bellator before everyone goes nuts about that, but if you follow Johnny Eblin's career, he has every single thing that you want if you're building a championship caliber fighter. I mean, just everything. The build, the size, the cardio, the striking is coming along. The wrestling is just non-stop positional control and changes. It keeps you so off balance. You're always worried about that takedown. And he's just a monster. He really is a monster. Impa, again, great fighter. Love him. Impa, if you see this, we love you. But Impa has fought a lot of time at 205 pounds. This fight is not at 205 pounds. This is at welterweight, okay, or middleweight. This is natural for Eblin. And I know Impa fought at this before, but you fight for a year and a half, 2 years at light heavyweight, your body naturally starts to conform to that weight class. And I really have questions about this weight cut and what kind of Impa we're going to get, because a lot of that success in PFL was, again, based off of him being more athletic, having a great gas tank, no worries whatsoever, being faster. You saw it in the Hamlet fight. I mean, he was light years ahead of Hamlet. Johnny Eblin, I think, has him covered everywhere. That being said, Impa could land a shot. Let's face facts. He could land a shot. But this is Johnny Eblin. This is an interesting fight to go the distance. These are two good fighters. These are two really good fighters. And I think Impa's good enough to survive if it's a wrestling match. And I know we can count on Eblin to work. Keep in mind, guys, these are all 3-round fights. These are not 5-round championship fights. So, that changes the handicap a lot, the fact that we're not getting 5-round championship fights. Absolutely. So I like Johnny Eblen. Everybody likes Johnny Eblen, which terrifies us as always. But I think he's the goods. I think he's the goods.
I mean, Impa's certainly he can do it. We've seen him. Mm-hmm. He's got the talent. And you're right. That is the big worry. To me, this is the one fight where it's like, oh, everyone's on Johnny Eblen. And it's like, oh, no, is this the one where it just sets up for gigantic letdown? Everyone's parlay gets busted when Eblen loses. And because it's the co-main, you don't have any fights left except for one to make it up. You know what I mean?
Good point.
Feels like this, if there is a fight on the card, absolutely just make it a rough night for everyone. It is the Johnny Eblen, freight train on bets on that one. So, guys, we're going to
don't put them in all your parlays. Okay?
Exactly.
Not all of them. Remember, break up your bets, guys. Don't go all in.
We're going to break down the main event. If you guys could do me a favor, just hit the like button and leave us a comment. Tell us what you agree with, disagree with, what's your favorite fight. Try and be respectful if you disagree with any of our plays. Just try and be a little respectful in the comment section. So, and if you guys are interested, we have a 5% best bet that is up at wagertalk.com. We were saving this one for a while. We didn't even have an official play on the UFC card on Saturday. We hit our bare knuckle play on Friday. We're like, let's just take the MMA profits and save up for this PFL UFC card. So we're having a great 7 days. We're having a great 2024, made 91 units in 2023. 5% best bet. We have not had one of these in over 7 months on Wager Talk. So really, really good betting opportunity for the PFL and UFC card. That is over at wagertalk.com. Just look for Andy Lang's profile and you can grab that. All right, Jim, it is time for the main event. Ferreira, Ryan Bader. I don't think all of the favorites are going to win. And if I'm looking at a really, really capable underdog, it's not a huge underdog. Ferreira's plus 124. I think he's got a real chance here, man. This guy is just the power. He doesn't need to hit you multiple times. He just needs to catch you once. Listen, I'm not going to Maurice Green takes out, but knocking out Goltsov, man, it was just that was something that was just really, really impressive. He's gotten better. I mean, last loss was no shame in losing
D'Elia.
that one. Yeah, yeah, no shame in losing to D'Elia. So I like Ferreira. I don't want to say Bader's, like over the hill or too old, but this guy's 40.
You can say it.
Yeah,
It's okay.
he's 40. Okay, he beat Fedor and Cheat Congo. I mean, come on.
Let's go down the list, gentlemen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have
Moldavs.
guys that we haven't seen in the big show in 7, 8, 9, 10 years here. The heavyweight division in Bellator has not been the murderer's row of heavyweight divisions. We've spoken about
No,
the heavyweight divisions and their status, and Bellator, honestly, I think PFL has a way better heavyweight division than Bellator.
I agree. I mean, this guy fought Leo Machida like just a few years
Light
ago.
heavy, who's a light heavyweight, fought him at light heavy. Yeah, Anthony
Yeah,
Johnson. I mean,
yeah.
ah,
I'm guessing we think that Bader's a favorite because of the what? Hold him down, take him down.
wrestling. Because of the
Yeah.
wrestling pedigree. Yes.
So, but if he can't, lights out. Sorry, Ferreira's going to knock him out if it's on the
Yes.
feet. So I like Renan Ferreira in this one at plus money here. Yeah, where are you at on this fight?
So this fight is quite interesting because, again, everything that we stated here could lead you to a very strong opinion on either side. This is a pick'em fight if I've ever seen one. If any line is not a pick'em, I have nothing wrong with anybody chasing plus money in this fight.
Okay.
Because there is no way this fight should be lined any differently than even money on both sides. Whoever's realm this fight takes place in, they're going to wash the other guy. So an interesting way to play this fight to me, and I know people are going to say, well, Ryan Bader's not finishing anybody. Okay, Ferreira can't stop and take that. Okay, right now, under 1.5 is minus 130. I'm going to be very interested when the totals all drop because I think this is a really good parlay piece to not go the distance. Really good parlay piece. I don't think Ferreira can withstand Bader on top of him for 3 rounds. I know Ryan Bader cannot stand with Ferreira for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if this is on the feet in the first round, Ferreira takes him out. If it gets at a round 1 and there's wrestling in the first round, Ryan Bader's probably going to end him in 2 or 3. I think this fight could go not the distance here, and I think that's a safe bet. But chase the plus money. It's silly to have any other line than that. Ferreira's leg kicks are going to be interesting. Ryan Bader has a very herky-jerky style, and he likes to blitz forward. That lines him up for a knee. That lines him up for those straight punches that Ferreira throws right down the middle. We've seen him throw those uppercuts before. He got a knockout with a absolutely destructive uppercut in PFL. If you guys haven't seen those fights, please go back and watch. They're amazing. So all of Ferreira's tools are dangerous for Bader. They really are. And like I said, if this gets on the ground, I just don't see how he can stop Bader from getting to mount or back mount in a dominant position where he can finish.
Yeah, it's a good look to just take. You're right. Wait until the not go the distances and just probably lay it on that one. So, yeah, I mean, if the odds were switched, if it was like Bader plus 125, you'd probably say, well, nice value on Bader. If he gets rare on the ground, it's probably going to be Bader's fight all day. So, yeah, we're strictly playing the numbers on this one. But just stylistically, man, I just like Bader's going to have to avoid the big knockout and then get Ferreira down and then win over the rounds. He can't afford to get popped once. Otherwise it's going to be over. Yep. So I like plus money on a guy like Ferreira to take care of business at plus money to get the knockout there. So, so we like Katani. We like Clarissa Shields, Biagio Ali Walsh. We do like Aaron Pico. Clay Collard, AJ McKee, a little bit of a toss-up. I think maybe you lean in a little bit towards McKee, but that should be a really good one. Thiago Santos and Romero, yikes. Not really sure we're getting the window on that one. Nemkov over Capaloza, Jason Jackson over Cooper, probably Eblin over Impa, but don't be surprised if Impa's game in that one. And then Ferreira Bader, really, really close fight. Should be a really good one. So, It is, Jim. Like it's like 13 hours of fights. You start
Yes.
you start at
Yes.
1 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday with PFL, and then that ends. We immediately go over to the UFC card in Mexico. So. I will be on the Takedown Live YouTube channel with fights. Jim will be taking care of his newborn baby this weekend. So,
Hopefully.
Jim,
Yep.
congratulations, man.
Thank you.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Literally, he's right before we record, he's like, labor pains have started. So, any day
Yeah.
now. Any day
Yep.
now. So, so hit the thumbs up, guys, and leave us a comment. And don't forget to go get that 5% play. This is such a great week. This is such a great cards. Both cards, UFC and PFL. These are really, really bettable. So I encourage everyone to take advantage of that at wagerstalk.com. Jim, thanks a lot. Good luck, everybody. And we'll see everyone later.
Take care, guys.